So one of the things that you really want to pay attention to is your overall message of your illustration of your work in general. So here I have two of my old drawings. One is, they're actually both the same thing. They're what I called Morgana. She was an Irish death goddess. This is in fairy folklore and you can research it. But the one on the left is the one that I originally did. I had basically this striking woman. She had little skulls on her. She had the Irish patterning here. They had runes on the sword. And so that was my initial piece. And the message was this Irish death goddess. Now, the problem is the message really was not conveyed. And the reason it wasn't conveyed is it didn't fit the overall theme. There is, a very light sky. There's, kind of green grass and mountains. And I tried to show Ireland. And so my thought process was kind of stifled. Now, the second picture I did a couple years later, and that is the same thing, is Morgana, the Irish death goddess. And the two are drastically different. And it's because I put more thought and more emphasis on the information down the road. I still have a lot of the same things. So I have the patterning here, I have the skulls, but I have the information that maintain the same amount of look and feel. I have the sword in there. I have the idea behind the sword. I have, that she's a death goddess. Okay, but here, this one here is my message is much more clear, much more defined. She's got pale skin, and that pale skin gives her an unearthly feeling to it. I have dead people actually in the scene because one of the things that I read, and I did more research. Research is always good. So as I did more research, I found she used to walk through the Battle of Death, and people used to, see this woman walking through, the battlefield. And so I put in people fighting here, and I put in skulls and swords, and I made the picture darker, having this dark black sky with these very powerful clouds is much more dramatic than having a clear sky where it's slowly turning to night. And so you always have to be aware of what is your message, what are you trying to tell your viewer, and is that message going through? In this case, I think the second picture on the right is much more successful at developing the idea that this is a powerful warrior on the battle of death, that type of thing. So it's just that information that's the message is much more clear, whereas this, it's more like a girl with a big sword standing in the middle of a field. The two don't really coincide very well. So again, make sure you pay attention to what your message is, because that is what your viewer is looking at.